Howdy, y'all. We're the EvLend team. I'm Federico Chavez Torres. You guys could just call me Fede, just like y'all's founder. Um, I do operations and I lead product here at EvLend.
And I'm Max. I'm Max Feldman. I will be working on the technical side of things at EvLend.
Cool, guys. So we just wanted to make this video, take y'all through the documentation, get so you guys can get to know us, hear our voices, hear our faces. That stuff is very, very important. So what is EvLend? EvLend aims to be the most efficient variable rate borrow lend market on Evmos. Broader goal is in the broader DeFi ecosystem. We use reactive interest rate technology to target specific utilization rates for stablecoin assets while still providing support for borrow and lend services for all the other assets. So we prioritize these stable coins because they have the largest borrow and lend demand. And so this allows us to target a utilization rate that's much higher than other platforms can reasonably target. So if you're wondering what is utilization rate, why is this even important, Max will start going through our architecture, going through our maths and how all that works.
Sweet. Yeah. So before I can really hop into the details of our protocol, I need to explain what utilization rates are so you can better understand our protocol. So simply put, a utilization rate is the percentage of funds for a certain asset being lent out or borrowed in a given money market. So let's say that there's a money market and within that money market, there's a total supply of 100 DAI being lent and 60 DAI being borrowed. This means that for DAI in that money market, the utilization rate is 60%, and that there's another 40% of reserves which are being unutilized at that point in time. And then without going into too much detail right here, one of the important things about utilization rates is that they have a direct impact on the difference or the spread between borrow and lend rates. So the higher the utilization rate, the smaller the spread between borrow and lend rates, meaning the rates are going to be more competitive, and the lower the utilization rate, the larger the spread between the borrow and lend rates, meaning that the rates are going to be less competitive. Borrowers will have to pay more, lenders will earn less. So now I think it would be good to hop into the reactive rates part of this, and I can tell you about, first, let me tell you about the traditional rate model, how people have decided interest rates in the past. And then from there, I'll tell you about reactive rates. So the original way within DeFi that interest rates were determined was through the traditional rate model, which is first outlined by Compound in their original white paper and was deployed shortly thereafter. And the way this works is that there is a function which takes the utilization rate as an input and maps one-to-one to an output of the borrow interest rate. So for a given utilization rate, there is going to be a given borrow rate and lend rate. This is suboptimal because ultimately what winds up happening is the utilization rate, in a sense, determines the interest rate winds up determining the utilization rate, not the other way around. So if natural market conditions wind up resulting in a low interest rate, this will mean that the utilization rate is also low, that the spread between the borrow and lend rates is going to be large, and this is suboptimal for from the perspective of the protocol because it's the rates are going to be less competitive. And then one way to get around that is the use of the reactive rate model. What reactive rates do is, rather than mapping one-to-one a utilization rate to an interest rate, what they do is they will map the utilization rate to the rate of change of the interest rate. And this is much more powerful because this allows you to create this as more of an optimization problem where you can set a certain target utilization rate, which your market will always be striving to achieve to try and stay in balance. And if the utilization rate of the market is above the target utilization rate, this will mean that the interest rate will increase over time, meaning that borrowers will be incentivized to pay back their borrow positions, and lenders will be incentivized to enter the market, thus bringing the utilization rate down. And then vice versa, when it's going the other way, lenders will be incentivized to exit, and earn elsewhere. Borrowers will be incentivized to come in and borrow when the cost of capital is low. So all this will just keep your market in line around that given utilization rate. And now let's talk about a little bit about the drawbacks of reactive rates and how we get around them, what our model is. So our big difference between us and the other reactive rate protocols out there is that we have a focus on stablecoins. This means that, or the reason we chose that to focus on stablecoins is quite simple. Stablecoins have the largest demand for borrow and lend services, so they're a natural selection for an asset or asset category which we focus on. And the reason that we focus on stablecoins is that it turns out using reactive rates on too many assets within the same pool winds up resulting in some rather poor outcomes, or can at least. So to demonstrate this, let me outline a model of a hypothetical money market which has 3 assets that are listed, all of which may be borrowed, lent, supplied as collateral. And the utilization rate for all of these assets is 80%. This will wind up with, this money market will wind up being levered 5x, or if there's a mandate for it to be levered 5x. Otherwise, the interest rate models will completely, they will fall out of whack, and the interest rate models would have to be reset if that's even possible. And again, without getting into too much technical detail, you can very easily determine what this leverage mandate would be given the target utilization rate, or the average target utilization rate. If it's 80, it winds up being 5x. If it's 75, it's 4x. 50, it's 2x. And if it's 90, it's 10x. So on. You get the idea. And when we focus actually our reactive rate models specifically on stablecoins, and we use the traditional model for all other assets, we can solve this problem entirely. We completely get rid of it, actually. So this is because we no longer have a restriction on the total amount of collateral within the system, like we do when we have reactive rates on all models. When we have some assets which do not have a reactive rate model running on them, we don't have any restrictions like this, and we don't have a leverage mandate. And this allows us, ultimately, will allow us to shoot for much higher target utilization rates without having to worry about leverage problems. So we could even be levered a total of like 99.99%. Probably won't ever get there, but we could be, sorry, not levered. We could have a target utilization rate of 99.99%. And with no leverage problems whatsoever, because we don't have that leverage cap requirement. We have these other assets which are coming in to be used as collateral. So another thing I want to talk about is the security of our protocols. This is something that we have to take very seriously, and I think everyone in DeFi agrees that it's very important. We all should. When users' funds are at risk, you can't play games. So given the situation, the way things are with DeFi, we follow all of the best practices within the industry. We will never deploy unaudited code. We will always have sanity checks within our code to try and make sure that edge cases don't wind up harming users. We will also have borrow and lend supply caps. And also we will just follow general best practices for smart contract programming, such as not calling external contracts when unneeded. So now that we've touched on that, I want to talk a little bit about Cybor. So let's head over to the Cybor page. And yeah, so one thing that we're really excited about is something that we call Cybor, or the standard internet borrowing ongoing rate. For those of you familiar, this might sound a lot like LIBOR. And you're right, this is where we got the inspiration from. And really the idea behind this is that as we grow and we start to achieve scale, we will be in a great position to offer up benchmark rates, which can be referenced by other market participants. And this is useful for a number of reasons, including interest rate swaps, other derivatives, and then also just people who are on the sidelines or even in the markets and just want to something that they can be referenced, something that would go across the bottom of the screen on CNBC or another similar type of financial news channel, something that can be referenced by market participants. We don't have this. We don't have a rate like this within crypto, and we want to have something like this. This will be built around stablecoins, trying to find what CYBOR is for stablecoins specifically. And this we think will be really exciting. So first we have to achieve scale, and then we can really start to unveil this to the rest of the world. And now, Federico, if you want to head into roadmap, let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our roadmap starts in Q4 of this year. We're already starting off Q4, just started, I think, middle of last month, right? So kind of big deadline here is our V1 mainnet launch for Q1 2023. So the product goal, like by the end of the roadmap, we'll have these audited contracts live supporting borrowing, lending for the key Evmos ecosystem assets. So these contracts should provide the ability to have multiple collateral and debt assets within the same position. Depending on the speed of development, we may reach this goal with our V1 launch, or we may only get partway there and then launch a V2 to fully just get that done all the way. Just taking a step back, let's look at the context and why we're so excited to work with Evmos, for Evmos, on Evmos. We're preparing to launch into an ecosystem, DeFi ecosystem, that's still got a lot of inefficiency, still got a lot of bad actors, a lot of mis and malaligned incentives. So we can do two really cool things with EvLend. One is we can demonstrate a standard model for maximum efficiency of interest rates. This is going to lead to economies of scale, eventually majority share in the lending space for a given core stablecoin. We become industry leaders. Of course, Evmos being a huge part of that. But something even cooler, right? I mean, like we're doing here with this video, like we'll be doing with our community, is we can create a standard model for what a decentralized company should look like and be built like and run like. Part of that's due to just the nature of Chain Hub being close to academia, but a lot of that's just the nature of some of our friends, like the folks over there at Floral Projects, our own kind of personal ideologies and how we were brought up in the ecosystem and how long we've been in blockchain. So overall, we're a key part of it. Evmos a key part of it, but you guys are also a key part of it. So we're looking forward to get to know more of you guys and opening up that dialogue. So with all that, this video is up. You can find Max at Max the Big Dev on Twitter. You can find me at Fed0888 on Discord. Pretty easy to reach as well. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll be doing one last check there in the community spaces on Thursday. And thank you guys for listening, and can't wait to hear what y'all think.